Tonight on Haunted Homes, we're in Salisbury, where a Ouija board may be responsible for an unwelcome guest.
It's almost as if the person on there was a Jekyll and Hyde.
The Mundays say they're plagued by a spirit they claim they welcomed into their home.
He would say some really personal stuff which could play with your head. It has to stop now.
Can Mia Dolan help Mel and Nick Munday?
Go.
Very uncomfortable.
21 grams. For those who believe in the afterlife, 21 grams is supposed to be the weight of the human soul. With 1 in 2 Britons believing in life after death, it's perhaps not surprising that many of us are receptive to the idea of ghosts and spirits trapped in this world. But what if one of those spirits visited your home and then refused to leave? Tonight, we investigate a house in Salisbury whose occupants claim that since experimenting with a Ouija board, they've been plagued by an intimidating supernatural visitor.
Charity worker Nick Munday lives in Salisbury with her 5 children.
I've lived here for just over 6 years. Me and the children were really looking forward to moving into this house. It was a new start for us.
Recycling supervisor Mel is Nick's new husband and is a recent addition to the family.
I've lived in this house since 2004, and myself and Nick got married in 2005.
The son of a psychic, Mel claims to be particularly sensitive to paranormal activity.
I tend to accept the paranormal a little bit more than the average person.
Since childhood, Nick has also believed in ghosts.
I had an imaginary friend, and I had the belief that she was my spirit friend. I could see her as clear as you and I, and that started my path into investigating the paranormal.
Both Nick and Mel Munday spend their weekends researching the spirit world as paranormal investigators. But soon after moving in 2004, amateur ghost hunter Mel noticed that there seemed to be an unwanted guest in residence.
My very first paranormal experience in this house was seeing a 6-foot bloke built like a tank standing in the doorway to the kitchen, and I happened to mention it to Nick, and it was at that point that she actually turned around and told me that she had seen this same figure.
I was working late one night and I turned around and I saw a figure of a man. It was his size that was intimidating. He completely filled the doorway. I was really scared after seeing that.
Much to Nick's distress, this burly figure was also said to terrify the children.
One particular night, the kiddies had all gone into one room and they said that they saw a figure of a man. They come running out of their room and they were banging on my bedroom door and they were crying and shaking, and they described the man who I'd previously seen and not mentioned to them.
But the alleged looming male figure wasn't all that the Mundays had to contend with.
We've had books flying off the shelves, we've had knocks, we've had bangs. You'll see little black shadows wandering around. There's just loads of stuff.
As amateur paranormal investigators, Mel and Nick were desperate to learn more. They took a drastic step, a step that Mia and other experienced paranormal investigators would always advise against.
Myself and Nick decided to do some work on the Ouija board.
Mediums use a Ouija board to communicate with spirits. However, some warn that if used by amateurs, it can open a doorway to destructive entities.
It all started out very friendly. The spirit on the board was answering questions. We could ask personal questions, which we've been told not to.
You could speak to him like a long-lost friend, and then it would turn completely nasty.
According to Mel and Nick Munday, this experiment was spiralling out of control.
It was almost as if the The person on there was a Jekyll and Hyde. He could be very nice, and I use the word he because he's introduced his name as Brian. And then all of a sudden, at the click of a finger, it'd be very, very nasty.
He would say some really personal stuff which could potentially play with your head.
It was at that stage, myself and Nick started to question what we were doing, but we needed to know what it was and why it was doing it. So the only way to find out was to ask questions and carry on.
Away from the Ouija board, the hauntings in their home appear to have intensified.
At one stage, Nick and myself were starting to fall asleep downstairs on the sofa, and I don't know why, but I woke up. And when I woke up, I saw this figure stooped over Nick. I stood up and slammed into it, get away from her, and totally freaked Nick out. By the time I explained to her what was going on, she'd come to realise that I was trying to look after her.
The fateful decision to persist in questioning this volatile spirit, they claim, had devastating results. It seemed to Nick that Brian was now frightening the whole family.
When I go up to check on them, they're always in one bedroom together, the boys' bedroom. When I've asked them about this, they say they don't like to sleep in that front bedroom. They're scared. They can hear noises that they can't explain. They don't know where the noises are coming from.
Levi, the oldest daughter, seems the most affected. She claims to have repeatedly seen the terrifying image of a man.
We was putting some items up in the loft, and Levi was at the bottom of the ladder, and she reached to pass me something, and she looked down the staircase, and she described a man that was walking up the stairs. When she was describing him, she was absolutely in pieces, and she said, "Mum, I swear on your life, I am telling you the truth. There was a man walking up the staircase."
Levi does not like being alone in this house during the day. She hates it, so it makes it difficult for us to even walk around the shop, which is 2 minutes across the road.
It then makes you question what you're doing, because I don't want it to affect my children.
No, put one arm on there.
Mel, I'm sorry if gonna fall.
No, you won't.
Mel blames himself for the escalating terror.
The spirit has stated on the board that he doesn't like me because, to quote him, I'm a thorn in his side, and I've got to ask the reason why. There was definitely something here before I moved in, because Nick has told me. Whether that's Brian or not, I don't know. If Brian was here, then he may very well be jealous of the fact that I am here.
We gave Nick and Mel a camera to make a video diary of any phenomena that may occur in the run-up to our visit. It's immediately apparent that the Mundays claim to be experiencing a lot, starting with an unpleasant smell of rotten fish.
Again, the smell is here. It is awful, and there's absolutely no reason as to why this smell is here.
I'm hearing voices. There's voices, there's people in here, in the sitting room, talking.
We came home late this evening, and as soon as Ella walked through the door, she said, "Oh, Mummy, I can smell fish again." As fast as we can smell this, it disappears.
Nicola now regrets ever bringing the Ouija board into their home.
Since using the Ouija board at home, the activity has increased and become more serious. There's nothing good that has come out from using the Ouija board. You know, will it get out of control? Is it going to increase? I don't want it to increase, and I don't want it in front of my children.
I can tell anybody out there, it's not a game. What you expect of the board is what you'll get back off of it. If I could turn back the clock, I certainly wouldn't do the Ouija board in my house, ever.
Mel and Nick Munday say their lives have been devastated since curiosity got the better of them. They experimented with a Ouija board, and in doing that, they believe they unlocked the door to a malevolent spirit. A spirit that they say watches them all the time and torments their family. They badly want to get rid of this malicious entity, and for help in doing that, they've turned to the Haunted Homes investigation team.
Mia Dolan, one of Britain's most sought-after psychics, heads up the team.
A psychic is somebody who covers all areas of the paranormal. It's a paranormal consultant. There is no area that I don't work or don't touch on. I work with missing people. I work with people who are bereaved, people who are scared. It even goes into commercial work involving the hiring of people in key personnel places. I get so many calls from people who think they've got hauntings. Probably 70 to 80% haven't got a ghost. And then just occasionally you get a live one. You shouldn't be scared of ghosts. Be cautious. But if it's a bad ghost, they can infect you. They can break you down, they can make you ill. You need help. Some of the activity that indicates you've got a haunting is extreme temperature changes, smells that come from nowhere, overpowering and then go again, lights and orbs that have no logical explanation, bangs and noises that don't make sense, and of course, if you see a ghost in the room. People say to me, oh, I think it's haunted, but if it's a child, I'll keep it because I'm not scared of a child, or I'm not scared if it's not a bad one. It's not a dog. And if somebody is stuck on Earth, they need to go home. So no, you cannot live with a ghost. They are not part of the furniture and fittings.
If Mia decides that a home is haunted, she'll attempt to remove the ghost through a clearing process.
My job is to pull the spirit in. I act as if like a magnet, so I drag it to me and hold it. It's actually my guide that takes it over. A guide is a guardian angel, or whatever name you want to give it, everyone's got one. Mine's called Eric. It's Eric that opens a door to the other side.
One of the techniques Mia uses is a spiritual practice called psychometry.
Psychometry is picking up information from objects. If somebody's held something a lot, or used something, or worn something, then it's going to soak up the vibe anyway.
Mia studies the family's most cherished belongings to get more information about the owners.
It's a great way to get a feel of a property you're going to. It's like the first clues.
2 objects are of particular interest to her.
It's not a special box. What I mean by that is it's just been around, so it's soaked up information or energy, and it feels hot. And I see flames, and I don't know why I'm seeing flames. I don't believe there's been a fire, which is not a very good sign. Okay, belt. Man's belt. Guy's a strong guy. I get arguments, though, and I get silly. Like something's wrong, fundamentally wrong, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it yet. One thing's for sure, as we go there tonight, I'm going to be careful, and my defences will be up, because something is wrong, even for me, and I know this world. Something is wrong.
After working in the paranormal world for 22 years, psychic Mia Dolan says she's only ever encountered an evil entity 3 times, but this case has already alarmed her. She says very quickly after starting to examine some of the Munday's possessions, she picked up on a malicious spirit. And Mia's worried by what she's picked up on. She says she urgently needs to visit Mel and Nick's home because she's worried that they and their children could be in danger.
Mia has driven to the Mundays' house. She has no knowledge of the location or of the Mundays themselves. The psychometry left Mia with the impression that something was very wrong in the house. It's time for Mia to go straight to the source.
First thing I'm getting is I feel sick. It's that off-balance feeling again. As I'm going in, it's getting worse. It feels heavy. Somebody's been scared, very scared in this room. I can hear the words, what's happening, what's happening. Very, very scared. Okay, let's look at the kitchen. Now, we've had somebody really scared here. Even feeling like going out the back door, as if they've run to the back door or gone out to the back door, don't like it. Weird smells, temperature changes, running. Well, you've got the whole king caboodle going on here. This is everything.
With no discernible centre to the activity, Mia moves upstairs.
Strange feeling of something going past me then. There's definite movement along the corridor. Definitely somebody's been heard running along here, up and down the stairs. I feel sick. What's strange is as if it's Whatever's here is looking for something, as if it's investigating the house, trying to get stronger. I don't quite get that. It should know the house. Not an ordinary ghost. Now, from this part of the bed, somebody's seen something look round the corner. Something's in this house which is moving around and trying to get strength, trying to establish itself. I don't think that this has been around for a long time. Normally spirits get stuck. When they die and they don't go over. But it's an old spirit and it's a new house. It doesn't stack up.
Mia is accompanied by our very own paranormal investigator, Mark Webb.
I became a paranormal investigator back in 1996, and over 9 years, my fascination hasn't dwindled at all. Paranormal investigators will go to reputedly haunted locations and try to capture some form of proof of the existence of the paranormal.
Skeptic Chris French, professor of paranormal psychology, will look for a rational explanation.
I actually used to be a believer in the paranormal, quite a strong believer. And over the years, the reason I've become more sceptical is because I've learnt more and more about human psychology and the ways in which we can actually fool ourselves, the way we misremember, the way that we all tend to perceive things the way we want them to be. And it's as I've come to appreciate the way that that operates, that I think that that provides probably a better explanation for allegedly paranormal activity.
Our experts will be involved in a vigil at the family's home. In this, Mark will use various techniques to detect the presence of a spirit.
On a paranormal investigation, we tend to do all different experiments. We'll use trigger objects, which are items which we'll place onto a piece of paper. We draw around them. Obviously, it's in a room that's locked. No one else is allowed in there. And if we get any movement from those, that would indicate to us that either you've got a very strong draft, which we can actually measure, or something paranormal could have occurred in that area.
No paranormal investigator is complete without an artillery of detection equipment.
A motion sensor is a pair of devices that we will place facing each other. They then send an infrared beam, and if anything then breaks that beam between the two, it will activate an audio alarm. A mini-disc recorder, paranormal investigators use these to try and capture EVP, or electronic voice phenomena. Thomas Edison actually said that you could capture the voices of ghosts on tape, and basically it's been used by numerous paranormal investigators to try and capture something that the human ear can't hear. Thermometers or digital thermometers are all used by paranormal investigators. This is because it's claimed that when a spirit is present, the temperature will actually drop. So we do tend to use thermometers in locations to try and pick up on these big fluctuations in temperature.
Chris has his own very important role to play.
I see my role at the vigils as being twofold. First of all, if there was any possibility of some kind of genuine paranormal activity, then I really want to be in there, I want to witness it, I want to be able to say that I've seen that with my own eyes and that we've recorded stuff on camera, and that would all be incredibly exciting. My secondary role will be to actually look at the way that the other people who are involved in the vigil actually interact with each other. A lot of the kinds of experiences that are going to be reported will be down to suggestions, basically people kind of getting each other psyched up. And it'll be interesting to see if that is what actually does happen.
Mark believes having a skeptic on board will be beneficial to the investigation.
There are skeptics out there who are completely closed-minded. No matter what proof we get, it's not paranormal. They will find any sort of rational explanation to fit the bill. There are certain skeptics out there, which Chris is one of those, who will listen to what you have to say, he will take it on board, and if he doesn't know what it is, he will say he doesn't know what it is.
If we could actually prove that paranormal forces really did exist, that would be such a fantastic scientific breakthrough and such a kind of a contribution to human knowledge and helping us to understand our place in the universe and all those big issues. It would be absolutely fantastic. The problem is the evidence just isn't particularly convincing at the moment. Hi, I'm Chris.
Chris and Mark arrive at the house to see for themselves what's been going on. Mel takes them through to the kitchen where the couple first made contact with Brian on the Ouija board.
We've had various experiences with this Ouija board to the point where at one stage the planchette just took off the board, landed into the palm of my hand.
Was anyone else touching it at the time?
There were two people touching it at the time, and like I say, I mean, their mouths were...
The planchette is the tool used to indicate positions on a Ouija board. These movements are said to represent the voice of a spirit currently in the vicinity of the board. But our skeptic Chris has a theory about that.
It really does feel like the planchette is actually moving of its own accord. But all the evidence suggests that, in fact, what we're getting is people are actually pushing it. It's non-conscious muscular movements. People don't realise that's what they're doing, but that is actually what they're doing.
Upstairs, Nick is waiting to explain the phenomena that she and Mel witnessed.
One incident that we had, myself and Mel were stood sort of in the doorway to this room, and we'd got into a blazing argument, and all of a sudden these books from this shelf here just flew off the shelf, hit the door and slid down the door. There was absolutely no explanation as to why those books could have come off why they should come off the shelf. If they just fell off, they would have been surely on the floor.
Now that all the experts have toured the house, it's time for Mia, our psychic, to meet the family.
Nice to meet you, Dom.
First of all, she talks through the results of the psychometry.
Okay, very strange for me. When I started doing it, my guide came in and said, careful, careful. It very rarely does this. So that confused me. A number of the items I picked up, I saw flames. Now, doesn't mean you're going to have a fire, but flames is danger, a warning signal to me as well.
Mia is keen to discuss her fears about Nick and Mel Munday's home.
My first feeling was just slightly felt sick. No offence, nice house. So that means something's up. Who got touched on the face?
I did. As I come through the door, but it was always like a
cobweb thingy.
Yeah, and I hit my face and ran through the door. And then
you ran out the back door? That's what I got when I was out there. That I actually got... Someone ran out the back door and didn't want to come back in.
Yeah.
Whatever's here is relatively new. You've not come into this house and you've inherited a ghost, but I don't know why it's here yet. I don't know what's caused it to be here yet.
Right.
Okay, now you talk to me. Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does, big time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's been going on? What's...
In the name of research, we've got dragged into the Ouija board.
Not in this house, though?
Yeah. We needed to find answers, and we've carried out the Ouija board in the kitchen, and we've had something following us, and no matter what we do, where we go, whether we're on the board or not, it's there.
Mia is horrified and realises that Nick and Mel, despite some experience of the paranormal, are way out of their depth. Some believe dabbling with a Ouija board can make you vulnerable to evil spirits.
There's... Words fail me from it. All joking aside, evil can only come to Earth if invited. It's the cardinal rules. The Ouija board invites.
Now that Mia knows that Nick and Mel Munday have been using a Ouija board, she believes that the spirit they claim resides in the house is so strongly entrenched because it's been invited and is therefore more powerful.
The longer we leave this, the stronger it would get. So it's got to be sorted out.
It is. It's escalating.
It will escalate. It doesn't stop.
Mel left me for the first you're
still doing this? You're still doing this?
No.
Where's the board?
We've still got the board.
Okay, when we finish...
How do you get rid of it?
You burn it. If it's burnable, you burn it.
So, with their fears more than confirmed, how do the Mundays feel about Mia's findings?
She was absolutely fantastic. She's hit on everything. It's like somebody holding your hand and saying it's okay, and yeah, you're not going crazy.
I'm just totally gobsmacked that somebody could come in from the outside and say, well, this is what's been going on in your house, and be so accurate with it.
I was very concerned, shocked, horrified when I heard they'd been playing with Ouija board in the house. You know, it's not a game. It's dangerous. So the most important thing I do tonight is try and keep everyone safe.
Mel and Nick live in constant dread of the spirit that they believe they accidentally invited into their home. This is not a job for amateurs, and as midnight approaches, so does our vigil. Our three experts are more than prepared. They're going to spend the night with Mel and Nick to see what they can learn.
It's time for Mark to set up his equipment.
It's interesting that Nick and Mel are both paranormal investigators. Therefore, we have something which, from a paranormal investigator's point of view, can't be explained at this time.
But Mark is keen to take up the challenge to record any images or sounds that may occur. But what does skeptic Chris think?
When you actually look at what is going on, I mean, a lot of it is this kind of people seeing shapes, people seeing figures, etc., etc. And we do know that people see things that aren't there. Now, if we could catch something like this on camera, that would be absolutely fantastic.
Finally, Mark sets up the thermal imaging camera and directs it at the kitchen.
The family have reported having seen shadows or apparitions in the door area leading through. So hopefully the thermal imaging camera will capture anything should it happen during the evening.
The camera is designed to pick up temperature fluctuations, which some claim can be a sign of paranormal activity. We've set up static cameras in the kitchen, in the living room, and in the girls' bedroom. It's midnight and time to start the vigil. Everyone takes their places in the kitchen, in the exact position where the Ouija board has been used. Chris takes up his position in the Winnebago, where he can monitor all the activity as it happens.
Now, I think it's a really good place to start the vigil, at this table, because this is where all the problems started with. We'll wait here and see what happens first, okay? Okay, let's go. Going dark, 3, 2, 1.
Despite Nick and Mel's claims and Mia's own sensations in the house, 45 minutes pass before anything seems to happen.
It's absolutely pitch black in this area. I can't see a thing.
Mia claims that her vision has become severely restricted.
I can't even see the hand in front of my face.
Even though our cameras seem unable to pick them up, Mel says he's seen something move.
I've been seeing a figure step to your right-hand side, moving from middle front to your right.
Then Nick appears to have a disturbing vision.
I've just seen a shadow behind you, Mia. It's just gone from you to Mark.
Feeling very, very uncomfortable sitting here at the moment. It's like very vulnerable feeling because I can't see.
But I looked to you and it was almost like a mask over your face.
What sort of mask?
A complete covering.
Now, I could get worried here and think that's why I can't see, but I won't think like that.
Mel, did you touch me?
No.
I just had it on my arm.
Both Mia and Nick are convinced that the spirit is not only present, but has touched them both. Things go quiet, and after 15 minutes, they decide to move the vigil on.
I'm going to leave you downstairs with Mark.
Okay.
And I'll take Mel upstairs.
Mia and Mel decide to settle on the landing, another possible hot spot, where they can monitor the bedrooms. But nothing seems to be happening. Then Mark and Nick report noticing something in the kitchen.
Something dark move across.
Upstairs, Mia and Mel listen intently.
Towards the edge of the window. It seemed like it's just gone dark across there.
Unable to reach a conclusion, Mark decides to report to Mia, leaving Nick on her own in the kitchen.
What's going on, Mark?
Well, we've just seen a shadow move across past the back door. We both went in to investigate it. We can't see any rational explanation as to what it was.
Mia decides it's time for her to go down to investigate.
How's it going?
Mark just witnessed the shadow that I saw behind you shifting.
So it's around then?
Yeah.
And how do you feel now?
It's calm, but it feels like it's building.
Yeah. It feels heavier and heavier and heavier to me.
Yeah, that's the building. That's how I'd describe it. It's the building.
Intrigued as to what's said to be going on in the kitchen, Mark and Mel make their way to the Winnebago to view from the monitor. Meanwhile, Mia says she's been feeling increasingly cold and unwell.
It's really bizarre. If I put my hand over the top of my back, I can feel the heat off my hand. It's like really, really warm. But as soon as I take my hand away again, it gets ice cold and uncomfortable. My ears ache, my head aches, and I'm freezing on my back. It's not just a sensation now, it's really uncomfortable. Really not pleasant.
With such intense sensations in the kitchen, Mia wants to see how she feels elsewhere in the house, so she and Nick head for the front bedroom. Almost as soon as they enter, both women claim to be physically affected.
Does it feel heavier in here?
Yes, definitely.
It feels...
I know what the feeling, something's like hanging on my back. Trying to latch on or something.
In here, it definitely feels heavier, and it's on my chest.
My chest is heavy. The air feels hot in my mouth. You know, between my shoulder blades, just like a 6-8 inch wide circle. It's freezing. Feel my back. Is it me, or can you still feel it?
It's freezing.
I feel very uncomfortable.
Surprisingly, it's too much for Mia.
Oh, do you mind if we get out of this room?
Mia decides that once again, Nick should be left alone to draw the unwanted spirit, Brian, out.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
You got your torch?
Yep.
Mia goes downstairs. But it seems that Rogue Phantom Brian is more interested in Mia tonight, as Mia appears to be touched again, not once, but twice.
Nick?
Mia is uncharacteristically distressed by this.
Twice. Right, sit on this chair. You sit down on this chair. Okay, twice it's gone. Like that. Twice, separate instances.
Mia decides to observe Nick from the living room to see if the spirit will affect her in the same way.
How are you feeling in there?
I feel... I mean, my face, my neck, everything's really, really hot. Apart from between my shoulder blades, which is like ice cold.
Maybe it's following you, Mia.
After all the events of the evening, Mia decides to retreat to the Winnebago. Concerned about what he's witnessed, Mel returns to the front line, his own house, leaving Mia and the others behind.
The others in the kitchen for a second.
Mel seems to have more luck picking up on the spirit's presence.
Something's creeping around me. And it's coming from behind. Right, it just feels like something is approaching. Whatever it is staying to my left rear.
Then, without any warning, Mia begins to feel sick and has to leave the Winnebago. Inside, Mel says he's lost contact with the spirit.
Every time I go close, it backs off, whatever it is. Doesn't want to seem to let me get near it.
After some fresh air, Mia is feeling well enough to go back in.
Oh, yeah.
On Mel's return, Mia is keen to fill him in on what's happened in the Winnebago.
Well, while you're in there, I was being sick out the back. It's the worst vigil that I've ever been on, physically. It's made me feel sick, and I've got this awful pressure in my back, like between my shoulders. First time that's happened to me.
This vigil has been very unusual, and it's important that Mark goes in to check his equipment.
There's no real big variance within the temperatures. I mean, we've got a maximum of 24.7 degrees, and we've got a minimum of 23.1. So it certainly wouldn't be inconceivable that we'd have a degree's difference with 4 people sat around the table.
Finally, Chris enters the house in a last-ditch attempt to get the spirit to reveal itself.
If there is any kind of spirit in this place, I really would be the person to convince. So if there's anybody out there, do make yourself known. Be very impressive if the skeptic experienced something. No, doesn't look like Brian's listening. Okay, I'm off.
After the inconclusive experiences of the vigil and the lack of significant readings on Mark's equipment, Mia and the Mundays re-enter the property to compare notes.
My personal opinion is that what's here didn't want to be seen tonight. It certainly doesn't want to go. But physically, something's been going on for me to make me feel very ill. Not another vigil I'd like to experience very quickly again. Yeah, it definitely affected me. Thanks for being so good and so brave.
Thank you.
With tonight's confusing experience behind them, how do the Mundays feel about the imminent clearing?
I really am apprehensive and feeling a little bit anxious. I'm looking forward to it as well, which is really quite a contradiction. And I want to get to the bottom of this.
I'm looking forward to seeing how Mia handles this.
After a gruelling night-long vigil, our three experts just can't agree on what's happened. For Mia, the experience was so intense she became physically sick. Meanwhile, Mark believes he saw dark shadows in the kitchen. Both of them are convinced that something ominous is haunting the Mundays. Mia says she now has to confront the ghost if she's to help Mel and Nick make their home safe again. Chris French, the team's psychologist, remains sceptical, but he's unable to offer an explanation that satisfies the Mundays. They believe they're living with an all-too-real ghost. Tales of ghosts, ghouls and dark phantoms are all very exciting, but what would you do if you thought one had moved into your home? For centuries, in every culture, there have been ceremonies to rid homes of unwanted spirits. Tonight, Mia claims she'll get rid of the Munday's ghost in a clearing ceremony. She says she'll call the spirit forward and send it over to the other side.
Mia claims that tonight's clearing is far from normal because the spirit that calls himself Brian was invited and is therefore stronger and more devious.
Right, let's do it. Okay. Standing at the bottom of the stairs. Going up. Now at the top. Looking into the boys' room. Can't see anything. Going down the corridor. Going into your room. He's on your bed. Laying on your bed with his hands behind his head and his legs crossed, very confident, sitting up, smiling at me. He stood up. He's quite tall. And he's just slowly walking and keeps smiling all the time, but it's not pleasant. I'm coming down the stairs, coming to the bottom. Coming through the living room. No, it's laying by the door in the living room, come on.
Seemingly, Brian is proving extremely difficult to draw down. Mia is struggling.
Okay. Got him. Now, let's try and talk to him. He's telling me he doesn't have to do anything. He's got that wrong. Okay, I'm gonna have to try and get him over. He's grinning at me. He's telling me that it's not going over. It's not going.
It appears that Brian is resisting Mia to the end. Simply getting him to the room has drained her psychic energies. Will she be able to send him across?
De profundus clamave ad te domini exaudi vocium meam.
With renewed effort, Mia says a prayer for the dead.
Dentes invocium deprecationis miae domini exaudi vocium meam. Done. Oh, I'm so glad that is over. What I wasn't expecting was like a tube coming down in light. Took him from all sides. I was very concerned. We're very lucky. I mean, I've never had anything sneer at me saying you're not going to get rid of me. Never. Now, one of the things that you won't be able to do in this house for a while is anything psychic. So, never again with a Ouija, which is great, you know. Let's leave it as a family place. It's the kids' home.
Mia strongly cautions against playing with a Ouija board. She claims that during the clearing, she communicated with the ghost and found out that he had tried several times before to get into the Munday's house. He'd kept failing until Mel and Nick opened the way for him by experimenting with the board. The Mundays have learnt the hard way that dabbling with a Ouija board can have a devastating effect on family life.
A week later, and out of the blue, Mel and Nick Munday contact Mia in a panic, telling her that the spirit has not gone.
On the evening when Mia cleared the house, we weren't too sure that what was happening was true. We've been used to Brian, as we call him, lying so much. that it didn't seem right that he would go so easy.
And we said we'll just give it time to allow everything to settle. But things have been happening over the last couple of days that it's just too obvious to ignore.
Shadows started moving around the walls again. We started to hear the footsteps on the landing, wasn't it?
Yeah. We gave Mia our word that we wouldn't use the Ouija board, and we haven't. And the problem is still here.
As Mia checks the house, she claims that the spirit Brian is truly evil.
I think that I think it's demonic, and it's so rare, so rare. And to get rid of it, we've got to denounce it, uninvite it, take back the invitation.
But first, Mia needs to get to the root of the problem and find out what Nick and Mel did with their Ouija board.
Have you used the Ouija board since I've been here?
No.
Where is the board?
Under the stairs.
In the cupboard.
But one of the things I need to do is take it away. Right. Are you willing to let me take it away?
Well, we gave you our word, and there's no way that we're going to go back on the board.
So, what do you value more? Peace at home or your board?
I have an attachment to it, but I have absolutely no wish to use it, and I won't. And I gave you my word. Definitely.
So what do you want it for?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's tricksy. And I also think that what's happened when I was here before is that it lied to me. It lied, but it's not the fact that it lied to me. I was angry at myself that I'd sat there and told you it lied, and I didn't consider it could lie to me. And I think that I think the way it can hang in there is the board. And the way to find out if it was the board was to ask you to give it away.
It's now time for Mia to uninvite this demonic spirit.
We haven't got the nice situation, we haven't got the comfort of the candlelight, and this is raw. This is, let's just get the job done. What is in this house is not invited, it is not wanted, it is not entitled. The invite is revoked. The invite is revoked. De profundus clamare ad te domini. Domini exaudi vocium meam.
Mia claims she's finally expelled the demonic spirit that called itself Brian. She takes the Ouija board, which she believes will keep Brian away. Mel and Nick Munday have investigated the paranormal together.
I tend to accept the paranormal a little bit more than the average person.
Suspecting their house was haunted.
And I saw a figure of a man.
A 6-foot bloke, built like a tank.
They took a terrible risk and used a Ouija board. Mel believes the consequences are dire.
Will it get out of control? Is it going to increase?
If I could turn back the clock, I certainly wouldn't do the Ouija board in my house.
Mia shares this opinion.
Evil can only come to earth if invited. The Ouija board invites.
After an eventful vigil, Mia experienced not one but 2 difficult clearings.
The invite is revoked.
Have our experts helped the Mundays? We revisit the family 1 month after the second clearing.
It's just an instant calm that we've got.
It's happy, it's light, it feels nice to come home to.
But will they be dabbling with Ouija boards again?
I will never use a Ouija board anywhere.
And how do they feel now after Mia's second emergency clearing?
Anybody that can look after my family for me has my respect.
Mel and Nick Munday's bad experience with a Ouija board certainly hasn't dampened their passion for the paranormal, but theirs is certainly a cautionary tale. Mia says it took not 1 but 2 attempts to rid them of their ghost. It's easy to blame them for dabbling with the unknown, but they say they had no idea what was going to happen to them. From tonight's evidence, it appears that haunted homes don't just stem from the imaginations of horror writers and film producers. Could a ghost be in your street? Sleep well. Good night.